Hey, g'day guys, Nadine from Colin Campbell Chemicals here again. Hey, this is another video I did at GIS. This was a little bit of a longer interview and I actually really enjoyed this. It could have gone on for hours actually. The person I interviewed here with Pat Jones, he pretty much runs a magazine called GCI, Golf Course Industry Magazine. So not just the magazine, but Pat is well known throughout the industry, had a lot of experience in the industry. He's worked for GCSAA, he's done a whole lot of different things, but I didn't talk to him too much about his career. It's more about the state of the industry in the US, what he sees, where we see things going, and I think going to be very relevant. It'd actually be quite good to watch this probably in about another 5 years' time and see in regards to what we said was going to happen. Hoping to catch up with him again in the GIS this year, but this has really enjoyed this one. I hope you guys do as well. So please feel free to again hit me up on our Facebook page, Colin Campbell Chemicals, Twitter at Campbell Turf. I'll leave some notes in here on YouTube. All right, guys, hope you enjoy. And
well, hello, everyone. It's Nadine from Colin Campbell Chemicals here at GIS. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Pat Jones from Golf Course Industry Magazine. Myself and Pat, we met quite a few years ago. I think it was at the Las Vegas conference for the first ever tweet up. I was actually looking through my old photos and saw a photo with us, Pat with the megaphone outside of the conference center. I remember it was quite cold then too. And there was probably about 20 of us.
Yep, the few, the proud. I still have that megaphone. I will have it this Wednesday for our tweet up again on the show floor. So yeah, that was a great event. They wouldn't really let us do it on the show floor, and so we decided to stage an insurgency and do it out in the parking lot. So I'm glad you were there, man.
Yeah, that's right. No, it was the first one, which was good, and I think I've been to nearly everyone since, and it's good that Aquatrolls came on board and said, "Come do it at our place."
And you've been a leader in taking what little I think you've seen us do and others do, and you've been a leader in doing that in your own market, and you should be congratulated.
Thank you very much, Pat. So today, Pat, I just want to essentially talk to you about the industry. Like you've got a great, get that out of the way. You've got a great perspective on the industry here in the US. I follow everything you do on social media and read the magazine quite a bit. I will put a link about the magazine. It's great. I think it's probably the best publication. And I'm not just saying that. I do read it every month. I love it. And it works perfectly on the iPad. Other ones don't, but his one definitely does. So pretty much just got a good perspective on the industry of and of what's happened and what's going to happen. So just for a turf manager point of view, from a golf course superintendent, what's changed? What have you seen change in the last 5 to 10 years significantly?
I'll step back a little farther than that and go back to 2000. And 2000 was the high water mark of our insanity. It was years ago, the guy who was the head of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan of the United States, talked about our irrational exuberance led us down the bubble, and 2000 is kind of when the bubble burst in the golf industry, and all of a sudden it became really hard to get money to build golf courses. There was more downward pressure on budgets, particularly in overbuilt markets like Myrtle Beach or South Florida or Vegas or places like that, where they just thrown golf courses up mainly as amenities, as a centerpiece for a development.
Yep.
And the developers would come in and they'd build these things and they would sell the houses and they would walk away. And so we ended up with all of these overbuilt golf courses that were expensive to maintain. And so the market sort of gradually eroded from 2000 to 2008, and then the hit the fan, and what had been a slow downturn became a hammer. And most golf courses over that 3-year period had their budgets cut by at least 11%, some a lot more. And these were courses typically that had 5-6% increases. So not only were you going backwards, you weren't gaining anything either. So post 2009, what we've seen is this gradual regrowth of the market. And it's been very much a story of haves and have-nots. So in the U.S., we've got 15,000 golf courses, right?
Just to give you perspective, in Australia, we've probably got about 1,500, and not all of those have got grass greens, but majority have, but that includes anything that registered as a golf course. So
there's still a few sand green golf courses in the United States. I grew up near one back in Kansas when I was a kid, and I thought all golf courses were like that because I didn't know better. But anyway, so there's 15,000 golf courses, which is probably 4,000 too many. Yep. And so we're in this gradual kind of deflation thing where a lot of those courses that they're not investing in them, they're not doing anything to keep up. They're just hoping somebody comes along and buys them and turns them into condos. That's kind of where we see the shrinkage. And then some of those homeowner development courses where the homeowners are just like, we're not going to pay $1,000 a month in association fees to keep this golf course going. And so they're dying gradually. And overall, that's kind of good for the market. It makes us healthier to have fewer and kind of thin the herd. So what I think what we've seen in the last 10 years is the market getting a little smaller, a lot smarter, right? And part of that comes from not being able to borrow money from banks, not being able to go to members and say, hey, we're going to assess everybody $10,000 at the end of the year. Nobody's buying that anymore. So courses finally started to get more business-like, and superintendents have been leaders in that. They've been the ones who've been managing the club's biggest asset to the penny, or better.
A lot of clubs forget that. It's like, why do people come to a golf course to play golf?
Nobody ever joined a club because they make a good BLT. Okay, so it's the big green thing out there that's the ATM machine that feeds our economy. And so I think you see the superintendents and their role and their prominence in the industry grow. And you've also seen superintendents become much more prominent on big events, with the U.S. Open particularly. The United States Golf Association has done a wonderful job of turning the spotlight onto the superintendent, and not necessarily the golf professional or the general manager. They celebrate the superintendent and what that person does in that team, that group of volunteers.
I definitely have noticed that, and I really hope Golf Australia does that for us. It doesn't tend to do it so much.
Right.
But I know our Superintendent Association is trying to work with them to do a bit more, because they're the ones who present the course. They're the ones who, without them, it's like there wouldn't be no course. It doesn't matter what what facilities you have with the corporate boxes and the bikes. It's like if the golf course isn't up to scratch, there's not going to be a tournament there again.
Well, Tom Watson told me that 30 years ago. He said, look, you can not have a pro shop, you can not have a kitchen, you can not have any amenities, but if you don't have a good golf course superintendent, you're out of business. And Tom's a pretty smart cat. Yeah. So I think we've seen this whole thing of superintendents taking more of a lead in the business and operational side of golf, and doing a lot better. One of the things we see in our research, you see our magazine, we do a lot of research, and one of the things we did recently was a study about buying habits and how superintendents here buy stuff. And so, do you guys have early order or some form of early order?
No, not really. There's sometimes a little bit of that, but very, very little.
It's become part of the culture of United States golf that there's a big push to order the bulk of your soft goods, your chemicals and fertilizer and seed in the fall, and to spec that, and sometimes take delivery of it and sometimes not. The terms are all over the place, but the whole idea is to push the purchasing into the fall and to make that decision, and in return you get a rebate or you get a percentage discount or whatever. And so a lot of people are doing more buying through programs like that give them a little bit of a break, and doing it with fewer people. We have in addition to having way too many golf courses, we have way too many people selling things to superintendents.
Same thing.
Great.
Same thing in this one. It's like so many times the superintendent will be, I've got 8 reps calling on me. I can't have the time to see 8 of them.
So how do you differentiate? How does a good rep differentiate in Australia?
Value and service, advice, the right advice. That's the key. Yeah. You don't have to be the cheapest. Some people just don't know. Be out there. It's like I've said it before. A lot of people will work on price, but if you can add that value and add that service, and a lot of companies do, and a lot of reps do, they're the ones that have done well. And those guys have done well. They've been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years. As reps, and they do a great job.
Which makes it damned hard. I just wrote something about this for the Carolinas chapter, which is a big chapter here. There are probably as many golf courses in the Carolinas as there are in Australia.
That's right. Yes,
and I wrote something about the boomers all retiring, the baby boomers all retiring, and Boomapalooza, and how that's going to change and reshape the landscape here. But it's very much, that used to be some of those guys, a lot of them would think, well, I'll go be a sales guy. There's no room at the end anymore. Nobody needs any more sales guys. And if you do that, if you retire at age 60 or whatever, and you become a salesperson, you're competing against people that have spent an entire career building up relationships and doing a great job and getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to come bring a case of something out to a golf course that's got a disease problem. That's pretty hard. It's pretty hard. And their other option is to become a consultant. And that can be difficult too, because there's still a lot of people who are a little afeard of a consultant being a job killer.
Yes.
So it's still scary, and I'm sure that's another universal thing.
Oh, there's not many turf consultants in Australia, but there is sometimes that. But there's also good consultants who will work with the superintendent. I've seen that,
Right.
and that works really well. Where it's like, yes, there is an issue. Consultant works with the superintendent. Let's solve it, and the club are behind
The
it.
best ones do
yeah.
that. They really do. The best ones will find a way to support the superintendent, but do so with an independent voice.
Yes.
And that's really a good thing if you can find those people. I think the whole job killer thing is more of a rumor than it is a truth.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times by the time that a consultant is being called in, it's too late. It's too late. So, I mean, overall, the U.S. market is surprisingly healthy right now, mostly because of the remodeling and renovation market. So, again, the haves and the have-nots. And the haves are most definitely finding ways to create a reserve and then invest that in bunkers, new putting surfaces, tree removal, drainage, which is pretty amazing that finally people are paying attention to the underground stuff that's expensive and not particularly sexy.
It's very true. It's like one of the things with a lot of diseases, soil-borne diseases. It's a theory says, and the academics, improve your drainage.
Right.
Talk to superintendents going, money, we don't have it.
Right,
But-
and it's boring.
Yeah.
The members will always sign off. Well, not always, but they're more likely to sign off on new bunkers
Yes.
than drainage.
That's right.
The president of the United States, way back when, Lyndon B. Johnson, when he was the Speaker of the House, said, "Never vote for anything that people can't see above ground." Politically, and I think the same is true within golf courses. So. But again, I'm pleasantly surprised at how good a shape the market is here. I talk to our partners, the companies that supply superintendents here, and they're all growing their revenues. They're doing quite well, and it's less profitable probably than it used to be. There's a little downward pressure on
That's right.
margins.
Yeah, margins definitely. I think we're seeing that everywhere. It's like in Australia, we're in the horticulture ag space as well.
Right.
And we've seen that. We've seen more competitors.
Do you have legal marijuana?
I'm just trying to think. I'm going to probably stuff this up, and I think there's going to be soon.
Some medical exemptions.
There is very, very small though.
Right.
Very
See,
small.
our company produces, we have Golf Course Industry Magazine, we have Lawn and Landscape Magazine, and some horticulture magazines in the greenhouse and nursery business and things like that, a big pest control magazine. But the one everybody wants to talk about is we started a marijuana magazine.
I remember seeing that. It's like, oh wow, marijuana magazine.
Right, and so there's 30 plus states in the U.S. now that have some form of legal marijuana, and all the way from California, which is the fourth largest economy in the world, and has legal marijuana, and to Washington and Colorado and everything.
Yep.
Those are, but it's so funny because a lot of superintendents are coming up to me. I'll go out and give a speech someplace, and I'll kind of joke about the gods of business and the pod business. And a lot of superintendents are coming up to me going, "Hey, tell me a little bit more about that." And
We've got land to build.
yeah. So, but it's a fascinating business, and you see big grow operations for annuals and things like that in your part of the world. The technology is astounding. So I think maybe someday we'll be learning from those guys when it comes to drip irrigation and hydroponics and some of the high-tech stuff, because everybody's throwing money at the pot business right now.
It's all about yield. It's all about yield. That's the
exactly.
thing. It's like if you can grow more in the same, and grow more with less area.
Right.
And
The hilarious thing is that the most optimistic projections about the U.S. marijuana industry, the cannabis industry, is that eventually we'll have 2 million acres of cannabis being grown in the United States. There are 2 million acres of corn in southern Iowa. Okay, that's just not that much in terms of a crop.
No,
but it's the ultimate high value
but
crop.
that is big. It's like when talk to millions of acres. We don't talk millions of acres without like fruit production and the likes. Yes, when you start to get out to broad acre crops, your wheat, your lentils, and the likes.
Well, I'd never suggest that any superintendents who had been previously growing pot under less than legal circumstances in parts of their golf courses. I would never suggest that, nor do I have any evidence of anybody doing it, as far as you know. So yeah, but back to your question, because I tend to wander. Things are going surprisingly well here. I think the big trend here is let's push the envelope on nutrition.
Yep.
And I think you guys have been leaders in that. The fast and firm thing is associated with Australian golf and always has been.
Very, very much. And we
sometimes too fast. Sometimes you've got balls rolling off the green in the Australian Open and things like that.
Yeah, that's they did famously at New South Wales Golf Club, where the members said, "Well, this is normal. This is normal. Let us play."
That's what they said in Oakmont too. 14, that's nothing. We've been at 15, 16 sometimes. So
no, that's it. And we do see that, especially on the sandbelt courses in Victoria and the like. So they really run them a lot, really lean compared to other parts of Australia, and they're really pushing the envelope down there.
Yeah,
and they can. And with the sandbelt very unique with the sandy soils down there, they can pretty much. I remember seeing one superintendent. He said, "Green looks dead, doesn't it?" I said, "Actually, yes, it does." He goes, "I'll put some water on it, it'll come back."
Yeah.
Because it's so unique, the sand down there in Sandbelt. Yeah, amazing part of the world.
Where are they? Is there buzz about like Micah Woods and the whole MSLN?
There is starting to be one of our distributors, Living Turf, have been pushing that. They've actually got Micah to come out last year and do some talks on MLSN. So there is some uptake on it. But I do believe a lot of Australian superintendents were already doing some form of it.
Okay.
It's just probably now quantified. If they're doing their soil test, but it's quantified with it. But there's a lot, because we don't tend to do too much nutrition realistically.
Well, soil testing has been a thing here forever, and I think people are just really starting to figure out how to do it. My friend Joel Simmons from Earthworks, it really is the soils guru. So, I mean, if any of your guys are looking to learn more, I think start with guys like him and ones that have been doing this for a long time. The superintendent, his name escapes me too, at Manufacturers Country Club in Philadelphia. He's a genius when it comes to amending soil and using mineralization and things like that. So you tend to maybe think that superintendents in the U.S. throw money at stuff, and they don't. There are still a lot of guys who are very frugal and very cautious and very thoughtful about what they're doing. And they're trying to do the most with less, even if they are at some place like Manufacturers, which doesn't lack for budget. So I've always been impressed with Tim Hires, our friend who just won the USGA Green Section.
Yes, I saw that. Yes.
And I've known Tim for 30 years, and Tim is just a legend. He might be one of the brightest guys I've ever met. He just processes information differently. And I've watched Tim walk by and pick up a nickel off the sidewalk. And I know for a fact that Tim had this, not elaborate, but this very straightforward system of collecting all the tin cans at the golf course and aluminum cans and recycling them and using them in certain things. And somehow it amounted to him being able to afford to use a technology that allowed him to reduce his electrical bill dramatically. Did you see? So the
very, very, very different for
the frugality thing is pretty remarkable. So anyway, we got a couple more minutes. What else? What else would you like to talk about?
Well, what do you see in the future? Do you see that using more with less, but just generally just using the use of technology within turf management? How do you see
I see having to overcome labor with technology. So the labor problem here is substantial, and it's not going to get better.
As we have, I think everyone's suffering, as we do have in Australia. I know getting good qualified. Getting good people, getting someone initially, and then getting someone good.
Yep.
That's always hard.
So that's going to drive a lot of changes. I do think you're going to see autonomous mowing systems. They're already out there.
Yep.
There's the RBG from Cub Cadet. There's a couple of European products. There's a Portuguese product. But the holy grail will be good, simple, automated fairway mowing that can be done at night or can be done under circumstances that would normally not lend themselves to mowing. Where that's going to be a significant reduction in labor cost. Continuing to work on standards at clubs where you can have a standard of how many times are we going to edge bunkers monthly, or because I'm trying to figure out a way to crush down hand labor, because that's where all the expense is.
Very, very
so
true.
What is the average budget in Australia in terms of labor? What percentage of the?
Sorry, I can't answer that part. I don't know, but I can tell you like staff numbers now. Where I know a lot of 18-holes facilities used to run at around 12. They're now down to about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So that's
And you see that a lot here. The average budget in the United States, and this may sound crazy, is $800,000 a year U.S., and that includes all the big ones, the guys with $2 and $3 million budget, and includes all the little ones, the guys with $200,000 budgets. And by most standards in the world, that's crazy a lot of money. But here, it's about 60% labor. So 56 to 60% is bodies.
I think it would be fairly comparable in Australia as well.
I know in Great Britain it's a little bit higher, that it's more like 65 to 70%. And part of that is national health and some other things that they have to account for. but it's going to drive everything. So I think we'll see trying to come to grips with labor. I think we'll see more have and have not courses. I think you will continue to see. I think there's going to be a differentiation between true clubs that are there for competitive golf and they're meant to be truly a club environment, and then more and more of the public courses in the U.S. are going to get. I think they're going to get nichey. I think they're going to get into a niche and become a women's course or a great course for families. Say what you will about foot golf, there's people that enjoy that. So I think we'll see some differentiation because you just can't be a commodity. No. And that's what golf courses are. Two-thirds of the golf courses in the United States are basically commodities.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, why come and play golf at my course where you can go next door for about the same amount of price? What's differentiating?
Give me a reason. And these online tee services absolutely have crushed the value of a round of golf. The Golf Now and the other ones, and that's global as well.
That's it. Yeah, golf is a lot cheaper. Golf is very affordable here in the US and in Australia. It's we've got some good courses where you can pay $30 for a Twilight.
By the way, the one thing that's kind of interesting here, and I'm sure that there's a version of it everywhere, is the concussion thing in football, in American football. And that's true also of lacrosse and non-American football.
Yeah, rugby league and Aussie rules.
Yeah, exactly. And so, for years now we've been bemoaning the fact that kids weren't interested in golf anymore, and that they were all wrapped up in these travel sports and hockey and soccer and whatever else. And now there's some evidence that parents are less interested in having their kids play football, particularly moms. Mom does not want their child to play in the sport where we're now seeing not just NFL people, but players that played college or high school football suffering these long-term concussion issues. So what are they going to do? There's a lot of thought that they'll put golf clubs in those kids' hands. So golf needs to respond to that, and we need to provide team opportunities and make it interesting and fun for kids. And that's going to take a real concerted effort, but that is there if we want it. So I think there's a real Brett Favre, who's the famous NFL quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, said the other day, "I don't want my grandkids to play football. I want them to play golf." So it's the tide is turning a little bit, and it's a terrible thing to say that their problem with concussions, which is awful, is an opportunity for us. But it kind of is. And then women, and getting more women engaged in the game.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of women at the moment, but I think, it's very underutilized and a lot more.
It's great exercise, and you can drink wine while you're doing it. How could they have a problem with it?
That's exactly
so
right.
Are you a Fitbit person? Do you have the Fitbit? Or
No, I've got the little track on my phone.
I do that too.
Yeah, on the phone, and I love GIS week. I average about 12 to 15,000 steps a day, so it's good.
I did 21,000 the first day that I was in Erin Hills for the U.S. Open, and I'm like, oh man, I was hurting. But no, I think that also works in our favor. That from a woman's perspective, it's a different form of exercise that's not as bloody boring as yoga or just going and working out and doing Pilates or something. You can do it socially. You can do it with your children and your friends, and as a walking thing, it's quite lovely. How that is. So with all due respect, and I love my friends at the golf car manufacturers who advertise in my magazine, I think we are seeing a resurgence in walking, and I think that's really good and really healthy.
Cool. All right, Pat, we'll leave it there. Mate, thank you very much.
I can't believe we could talk all week, but both of us want to go have dinner.
I know, but in saying that, look, thank you. I think we can definitely do this again, and even if we do, something online, like, the guys out there watching this.
There's this thing called Skype, and I'd be happy to do it with you, and hopefully your audience will find us at golfcourseindustry.com. And also, I want you to get to know Guy Cipriano, who's our senior editor.
Yeah, I met Guy last year. I'll definitely mean to have a chat to him at the tweet.
I think you should because as I get older and I tend to want to stay home, Guy is the one who's really out there talking to people in the U.S. and really, I think, on top of what's going on with architecture and reconstruction, but also agronomy. So he would be a good guy to talk to too. But I really appreciate it, and I got lovely parting gifts. I got treats.
And as I did my golf course edition, which I will wear proudly.
Everybody wins. Thanks.
So again, thank you, Pat.
All right.
Take care. Enjoy
Cheers.
the rest of the week.
Anytime.